This podcast is meant for general health information and is not meant to override any medical advice. All questions will be screened and not contain any personal information. If you want a private consultation, contact us via positivechoice.org or you can contact your provider directly. Thank you and enjoy the episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Positive Choice Wellness Podcast. Happy 2021.
Woo!
My name's Annalise. I'm an exercise physiologist and nutritionist.
And my name is Melanie. I'm also an exercise physiologist and nutritionist.
And Melanie, can you believe 2021?
I can't. I can't believe. I just can't. I'm sorry.
Well, we made it over. We made it over the hump, so to speak.
Yeah, it's I'm glad we're out of the year into the new one. This is exciting. It's better now, automatically by default, because it's now 2021, so it's better.
Everything resets January 1st.
Everything is different the day that the new year starts. Exactly. Exactly.
But contrary to that, we're gonna talk about how I think starting a new year in the shadow of the pandemic and kind of the chaos of 2020 and looking at the realities of that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of uncertainty, I think, even at any point in the last several months where people are just like, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I begin? What do I start? Etc. It's definitely been one of those kinds of places that we've all, I think, been in the last few months. So because we're in the new year, it's the reset button so we can discuss and make it better.
Right.
Yes. So focusing today then on the whole, because obviously we will preface this, when you have a new year, we usually have a resolution, which is I want to do something, make a change. Typically, I want to lose weight. So how do we go about that and actually succeed in making changes in our life?
Mm-hmm. I think that part of this year is really about acknowledging where we're at first.
That's true.
That's always what it is.
Yes.
Meeting yourself where you're at. But this year, it just doesn't feel quite right to just talk about general resolutions.
Yeah,
because
that's fair.
We may still be struggling from how the holidays felt this year, maybe being a little bit more in isolation, maybe having lost some friends or family members, and going into our new year with a kinder, more accepting perspective of ourselves and where we need to be.
This is true. We do need to practice kindness. We do need to practice being kinder to ourselves, especially if you're unhappy with where you're at currently.
Right.
Because if you're sitting there like berating yourself like, I'm not where I want to be, well, beating yourself up over it isn't going to get you there any faster. It's just going to make you hate yourself while you try to get where you want to be. So that's not really going to work out.
No, nothing beautiful ever came out of shame.
No, absolutely not. Yes. So I've been getting a lot of questions up until the end of the year. It was a lot of questions in my classes, and obviously we had that break before the new year. So the questions I kept getting were, I feel like I'm out of control. I feel like I don't know where to go or how to stop what I'm doing. How do I get myself back into check of what I want, where I want to be? That's the number one question I've been getting across the board, pretty much in every single class that I teach.
I feel like that is a cycle that we can put ourselves in of being hard on ourselves.
Yes.
Going through like binge deprive. Like, I'm gonna white knuckle it. I'm gonna do it, but my stress levels are off the charts. So now I'm gonna break my diet to calm the stress, and then I dislike myself for that, and then and then you start over.
I'm sad. Eat food. Feel better. Now I'm sad I ate the food. Eat food again to feel better about being sad about eating the food that you didn't want to eat. Here you go. Here's your vicious cycle that we've all been in.
Then be really hard on myself about the fact that I've gained weight.
Exactly. Which is no, we don't want to be there. It's figuring out where you are in terms of how you're treating yourself is probably the best place to start, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So if you're struggling, if you're, if you're trying to make changes and you're berating yourself. I like to use the analogy of, I guess actually with training dogs, which I don't own a dog, so it's kind of funny that I use this analogy, but
I've rubbed off on you.
Maybe you have, you jerk. But like when you're training your dog and you want them to learn something new, you usually use treats or some positive reinforcement to facilitate a good behavior. So, if they go to the bathroom outside, you're like, yay, good for you, here's a treat. And they're like, yeah. Whereas if the dog goes to the bathroom in the house, you take their head and you rub their nose in it, are they going to learn their lesson? Are they going to change their behavior? Now they're just feeling bad about what they did, but they don't really understand what they did wrong, right?
Yeah.
So as people, we're kind of the same way, not to like compare us to dogs, but we kind of are, because in the same sense, if you want to make a change and you say, I can't believe you did that, you suck, you're terrible at that, blah, 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 you're not going to change your behavior. You're just going to continue to eat to feel better about the fact that you're hating on yourself for not changing a behavior.
That's completely right. Mm-hmm. And then if I am associating feeling bad about myself with healthy eating habits or exercise, guess what I'm eventually not going to do?
Exactly. You're not going to do any of the things.
Right. Because I associate exercise with punishing myself, or I associate eating healthy food with punishing myself for eating the bad food the day before. And that just leads to, well, I'm only doing this because there's something wrong with me. And we don't want to live in that space.
And to piggyback off of that too, we do a lot of this as a means of getting to an outcome. So I want to lose weight, so I'm going to do X, Y, and Z to get to the goal, and then I can go back to normal. I think where typically people go, like, I'm only going to exercise and eat well because it's going to get me to the point where I'm going to be thin and happy and skinny, and then I can do whatever I want again.
Till I solve the problem.
The problem will be fixed.
Right.
And I will never get fat again. Mm-hmm. That's how it works, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's something I think we don't put as much emphasis on or focus on when we're trying to get to where we need to be is, where's our head at? What are we thinking? What are we telling ourselves? What are you doing, mentally that could be sabotaging yourself that you don't even know it? And it could just be this negative attitude and negative reinforcement of bad behaviors. Something that I've seen a lot, it's actually like a pet peeve of mine ever since I've gotten out of high school, which is coaches in high schools would torture you with exercise. Because I did a lot of sports in high school, a little bit in college, but not quite the same because I could hire my coaches then. But when I was in high school, I remember if we did something the coach didn't like, we had to do sprints. We had to do something. It was a punishment. And unfortunately, that instills a belief in you at a young age that exercise is punishment for not behaving, or punishment for not doing something right. And so then as an adult, when you want to exercise, it feels like punishment because that's all you can think about is historically, it's been punishment. Like there aren't a lot of positives to it. So the same could be said with eating healthy. If you feel like it's punishment, it is punishment. Because that's what you're thinking it is at that point. So it's basically reframing your mindset, changing your brain, not thinking about it as a negative, but really it's what you need to do for life. But you need to find what you enjoy of the healthy things that are out there. It's not a one-size-fits-all shoe, unfortunately. I wish it was, but then we wouldn't have jobs. So
true. That reminds me, you bringing up like some of the earlier messages we got. A couple of things stand out to me from middle school when we were exercising. There was a male PE coach, and he said to me one time when he was making us run laps that you'll thank me when you look great in your bikini.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, I mean, when you're young, you don't fully understand what that means. But like as an adult, that really stuck with me.
Yeah.
And first of all, inappropriate.
Absolutely. That's what I was thinking. I was like, your coach? My God. Okay.
PE teacher.
Okay. It's not much better.
Neither here nor there. But yeah, first of all, like inappropriate, but also just kind of that message that you should run to find value in showing your body off. And I know that in our society that is super prevalent. And,
oh, yes.
A lot of people start their health journey for aesthetic reasons, and that's fine. Don't be hard on yourself for that. But long-term success does not stem from your value in how you look.
Yeah.
Because in the day-to-day, there isn't a lot of value to that.
That's fair. There's really only a couple of careers out there where there is value in that. And aside from those very niche careers, that's it.
Right.
Acting and modeling. And if you're not doing one of the two, it doesn't matter.
Right. And we think that it does. We think that it is enough motivation to, be a certain weight or be a certain clothes size. But the reality is that if something happens, like, you have some upset in your life, guess what matters the least? The size of your jeans.
Yes.
You're not going to care, which means that during stress times, during, holiday times, New Year's times, pandemic times, you are not going to stay with the healthy behaviors that are actually going to help you manage your stress, that's going to help you get through. Because if the only reason you're doing it is to be a certain weight, and that doesn't really take top precedence anymore, then you're going to drop those habits.
And I think that comes down to the type of goal you're making for yourself, because the goal right there would be, I want to lose weight and look skinny, which is fine and dandy if that's your goal, cool. But just recognize too, if not equally, if not more important than that, is how are you going to get to the goal? What are you going to do that brings you to that end point? I've seen this a lot in my classes. I had a couple of people in my classes, because I teach Healthy Balance, which is our full food weight loss class. And a couple people would be like, my goal for this week was to lose 5 pounds. Specifically, they had a specific number they wanted to lose. And so at the end of class, when we set our goals, I'm like, just so you know, I want you to focus on not the scale, not the number that you're going to be at the end of the week, because you have absolutely no control over that in a week. That is not something you can choose to lose. Your body's going to do what it's going to do. So that's a bad goal. How are you going to lose said 5 pounds that you want to lose? That's the bigger question. How are you going to get to that goal, which is a process. The process goal versus the outcome goal. Phrases that we know in this industry.
Right. Can you take a picture of yourself completing the goal?
Exactly.
Or working to complete the goal? And when it comes to weight loss, you can't take a picture of you actively losing 5 pounds.
Look, it's falling off of my body. Hooray!
Right. But we could take a picture of you going out on a walk. We could take a picture of you meal prepping, eating vegetables.
And that's where I think we get into the weeds a little bit with a lot of folks, because then at that point, the process of getting there, if they don't enjoy the process, like how are they supposed to accomplish their goal if they hate eating healthy or they hate exercising? And like, obviously we don't have a solution for that. If you hate it, like I can't make you not hate it. I can't go rah, rah, woo, woo, do this. Yay. I can't be a little cheerleader and like sit in your house and like pop out of a cupboard when you're trying to do something good. It doesn't work that way. So if you're really struggling in the process of getting there, you're like, but I hate salad. Don't eat salad. Don't eat it.
Right.
Like if you hate something, don't do it. There are a lot of healthy vegetables that exist out there that aren't salad that you can absolutely have. And at the very least, find the one you hate the least. If there's one that's like, well, that's okay, I can tolerate it. Cool. Tolerate away. Do it.
That's right. I love all kinds of vegetables, but I really dislike a side of vegetables in a meal.
I do too.
I really dislike it. I will eat it if someone serves it to me, but I never want a meal with like a side of vegetables.
And here's your steamed broccoli.
Right. So guess what? I don't ever make that for myself.
Yeah.
I never ever have a dinner that looks like a piece of chicken breast and a side of broccoli.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm usually like mix it up with the starch. Like if I'm doing rice, I'm always throwing vegetables into my rice or my quinoa or whatever I'm doing. If I'm making like pasta sides, I usually do chickpea pasta because it's, better for you than doing the flour-based ones, and I'll throw in vegetables into that. Like, I like things to taste like they go together rather than separate entities on a plate.
Right.
I don't want to eat categorically. I want to eat like a whole thing.
I think that's probably a lot of reason why some people just don't eat vegetables, because they think it comes in a side, like you eat the vegetables pretty much plain on the side, and you don't have to do that.
No. And something so we've been doing like grocery delivery, and something I've been getting pretty much every week have been these like maitake mushrooms. They're hen of the woods mushrooms. They look like bark, basically. They have amazing flavor. I love them. I get them every week, and I'm like, I don't care. I'm putting it in everything. I'll have it every day. I don't care. Great. And I love them. And I don't care if I eat them every day. I am happy to eat them every day. So I'm putting it into stuff. I'll chop it up and caramelize some onions. I'll throw it on top of chicken, or I'll chop it up and caramelize some onions and put it in my rice, or I'll chop it up and caramelize some onions and just eat it on the side. I don't care. It's great. And most of the time, every single part of my dish will have it in it because I like them so much. And then it makes it exciting for me to want to eat my entire plate because I'm like, oh, but something that I love is in everything that I'm eating. So therefore, I'm more inspired to be healthier because it's more appealing to my taste buds. I'm like, yay, mushrooms. But that's me. If you're like, ew, I hate mushrooms, like, okay, don't eat mushrooms.
Just insert your favorite ingredient there.
Insert favorite ingredient vegetable there, and you can go with that. There's no rule that says you have to eat vegetables separate from stuff on the side, because I agree, that's boring. Like, I put a side salad in front of me, I'm like, oh boy, side salad. Like, the salad better be the meal itself, or we're not going for a salad.
Right. Yes. And on that same note, one thing that I have been talking to my classes a lot about lately is the importance of finding healthy dishes that are as good to you as some of your splurge dishes.
Yes.
And my example of that is I haven't had regular brownies since I made the black bean brownies that are in our cookbook, because they are just as easy. They're just as satisfying, but tons of fiber, tons of protein, no refined sugar.
And I can attest to that because I've never had a normal brownie from you ever in the time I've known you. So yes. I do a couple of things like that too. Like I make a tofu cream sauce, which is also in our cookbook.
Yes, it is.
We do use our own recipes because they are our recipes, but because they're ones that are staples. But blend up some silken tofu. I love sun-dried tomato Alfredo sauce. This basically tastes the same if you throw in sun-dried tomatoes, basil, herbs, blend it up in a blender with some soy milk, and you got yourself a cream sauce. Wink, wink. Not really made with cream. Feels indulgent, tastes indulgent, actually very healthy. And it masquerades as unhealthy, and I'm on board. If I'm tricked, I'm happy.
High in protein.
Yes.
Some good healthy fats. Make sure that the soy milk is unsweetened. Check that label. Just because it says plain.
And if you're doing a cream sauce, you probably don't want a sweetened vanilla flavored soy milk going in there.
Well, I say that because it's not even just the vanilla.
Oh, right. The plain does have sugar
soy
in it.
milk
Yeah.
is sweetened. So you got to get unsweetened. Same thing with the almond milk, the coconut milk. If it doesn't say unsweetened, they've probably added sugar.
Probably.
So just our little PSA.
Yeah, and sweeten your food for yourself. Don't let other people do it for yourself, that thin thing. But the biggest thing, though, and I agree 100% with that, is making something that tastes unhealthy but is actually very healthy for you, so it's appealing and you want to eat it. Because I think there should be some excitement in what you're doing to motivate you to want to continue to do it. And I recognize that not everyone out there is going to go, I'm a cook, I know what I'm doing. You throw me in a kitchen with like the show Chopped and I'll probably figure it out. But to the average person, they may not. And so understandably so, you might go, well, okay, that's good for you. You can think on the fly and think of that kind of stuff. But how do I go about it?
Recipes.
Yes. So that cookbook we keep talking about, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, has some great recipes in it.
It's called Powered by Produce. You can get it on our website on positivechoice.org.
Exactly, and it's amazing. And there's lots of options for plant-based healthy meals that masquerade as unhealthy when they're actually quite good for you, and they taste really good. Because we were taste testers in this, so we will not tell you anything is bad because, we had to taste it ourselves, and we made sure it wasn't. So if you are stuck, recipes are great. They're absolutely fantastic. I still use them, I'll look at it and go, oh, that's a good idea, and then I'll kind of go my own way sometimes. But
And to tie this into what we were talking about being easy on yourself. So if you are struggling, think about these healthy foods as adding in. So one thing that can add to our struggle, if you are stuck in a cycle where you are, perpetually trying to eat healthier and then going off the rails, trying to exercise, going off the rails, whatever it is, one of the best things you can do is stop taking things out.
Yes.
So stop making things off limits. So start with, just adding some of this stuff in. So look for some healthy recipes, add it in, because if you are eating healthfully, if you are eating food that is whole, that is, full of fiber, full of nutrients, it just will happen naturally that you'll eat less of the processed food. But you have to be kind of proactive about that, because if you're hungry and stressed, you will not make a healthy piece of food from scratch.
No.
It's just probably not going to happen.
Like drive-through city. Woohoo.
Right. So have a little preparedness, but add in. Don't be like, oh, I can't have this, I can't have that. But prepare yourself to have some delicious, healthy food that you can preempt.
And what's interesting about that is kind of the concept of all diets that exist ever, which is restriction. Pretty much any diet, mainstream or not, that's out there that says you shouldn't have something, and the word shouldn't or can't or no is on that list of stuff, that's automatically you shouldn't do that. And that's what I'm saying. Don't do that. Because if you're basing what you're doing off of restriction, that's only going to put stuff on pedestals and make it more important that you're not having it. And that will drive you insane. Because if you say, I can't have pizza, pizza's bad. Well, guess what? It's going to be on your mind for the next 2 weeks. Pizza. So it's a matter of, not restricting and incorporating, just add healthy things in. As Annalise said, don't take away the unhealthy, because I think that's where a lot of us start shooting ourselves in the foot. And it's a slow process. Like, I can use my analogy for when I started eating more plant-based stuff and less meat, because I've mentioned this many times before. I am a meat eater. I am from that kind of family. That is what I do. And I went from that to pretty much, I don't remember the last time I had meat in the last couple of weeks. And it's just because I'd focus a lot on trying to get plant-based stuff in. But the way I did it is I just added it in. I didn't take meat out of my diet. It just kind of eventually started replacing it. And I still eat it every now and then, but it's not a major staple like it used to be. And it was something I wanted to have happen. And it was gradual, and it didn't happen overnight. But eventually it became a habit, and it eventually became a thing. And now I actively do that. I don't even think about it anymore. So it's doable with anything. I'm not saying y'all have to go plant-based. I'm just saying that's what happened for me. It was a gradual introduction of plant-based swaps until it became second nature.
Which you could apply that to exercise too.
Absolutely.
Right? You don't have to jump into a 6-day-a-week workout routine. You can pick something that you enjoy doing and do it consistently.
Yeah. That's like another analogy is when I started running, and I hate it. And I will say, in all fairness, the reason why I started running was because gyms shut down and I needed a form of activity, and I have feet, so I ran. And I'm not a runner. I'm a swimmer. It's not my favorite thing in the world, but I did it. And when I started, I don't think I ran for longer, maybe total of 10 minutes. The entire time I was out there doing stuff, I was like, walk, run, walk, run, walk, run. I wasn't good. I sucked. I was really bad. But I started really small. I was doing 20 minutes total, 5-minute warm up, 5-minute cool down, 10 minutes of like on off running. And that was my workout. And that's where I started. And it felt stupid because like I'm an exercise physiologist. So to me, I'm like, but I can swim for an hour nonstop. I can do all these things, and I'm running for 20. I'm not even running the whole time for 20 minutes. I'm maybe getting 5 or 6 minutes of running out of this workout. What a waste of my time. But eventually it got longer and better, and I got more efficient at it, and it slowly became a thing. Gradual introduction of things into your life. I didn't eliminate anything else I was doing. I just added that on top of stuff I was already doing. That's all I got to say about that. You can keep talking now.
No, I think that is a fabulous example, and that goes back to meeting yourself where you're at. And I think there's also a little bit of like grit and toughness that has to come along with it too, where if you are so far gone that you're like, I won't eat vegetables other than carrots, and
I have met people just like that.
Yes. And I have a foot injury, therefore I can't exercise. That is a time for you to start being a little bit tough on yourself, and recognize that if health, fitness is on the top of your priority list, exercise has to be a part of your life. Healthy food, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, healthy lean proteins, those have to be a part of your life. Sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night has to be a part of your life. Stress management has to be a part of your life. If you don't have those categories, you will not be as healthy as you want to be.
Yeah.
And so if you are limiting yourself in your mind with, I don't eat vegetables, I don't exercise, now is the time to start opening up to all of the possibilities that you could like something, that there is some form of exercise out there for you if you are injured, that there is some way for you to move, that there is some way for you to incorporate some vegetables in your life.
Yeah. And, you know, it's interesting that you bring it up, too, because you listed off a lot of things that we need to focus on. And
the 4 main tenets.
Yes. And in all fairness, that's a lot of things. And I think for the average person who isn't probably doing any of those, incorporating that all at once can feel very overwhelming. So something to keep in the back of your mind too is you don't need to change the world in a day. You don't need to do all the things immediately. Because when we get into situations where, like, you know, I want to eat healthy, I want to exercise more, I want to manage my stress, I want to meditate, I want to do this, I want to sleep, you know, you have all these things, and you're trying to do all of them at the same time, you're going to get overwhelmed and you're not going to succeed because it's going to be too much. You know, you only have so much bandwidth to get this done before your body's like, I'm good. You keep doing your thing. I'm good. I'm not doing that. And you kind of fall back into old comforting habits because you're frustrated with the fact that you're not doing all the expected things you want yourself to be doing. You know, spreading yourself too thin, basically, biting off more than you can chew, all the puns we can throw out here. And in that instance, focus on what's the most important of those things to you in that moment and just focus on that. So if in the instance that we're like, okay, I want to do all these things, but right now my major focus is like, okay, I really want to do healthy eating. That's really my main point. I need to get more healthy eating in. I'm not doing well with that. Then don't worry about the exercise. Don't worry about the sleep. Don't worry about stress management. Those can be another day. Those do not have to be now. Focus on getting the eating into habit form first.
Yes. And then long-term goal, no.
Yeah. Like, we don't expect you to do none of the other things ever again. You got to get one of them down before, you know.
Yes.
To build habits, it'll become second nature eventually. You just got to keep working at it to make it second nature. It's a little bit of work, unfortunately.
It's a lot of bit of work.
Yeah.
It's hard. If it wasn't hard, we would all have this down pat. But it is hard. We're fighting our coping mechanisms. We're fighting our brain and our ideas.
Fighting biology.
Fighting biology.
Our body wants to have fat on it. It likes to have storage. It does. And we fight that. If we don't want to have too much, we have to fight it a little bit. And that's just not allowing for extra storage of fat, making sure we're managing how much we're eating, making sure we're managing our activity. Because if one's out of whack, you're going to gain. And that's just what we do. Our people are meant to gain weight for famine, which doesn't happen as much as it should these days. So we are now dealing with the convenience of food, and there is no famine. So we don't have those starvation periods that normally we would have gone through. And so we just keep gaining. And, you know.
I mean, gratefully so. Thank goodness.
Yes, thankfully we have food, but the problem is our bodies are still in tune with when you don't.
Right.
We're still primitive beings in a very modern brain, so.
Yes, we have our reptile brain. It's always there just working, being like, no, you need to lay on the couch and you need to eat high calorie food because we might hit a famine.
Yeah, what if there's a famine? Oh, yeah. The next famine, okay, let's eat those chips. That'll solve the problem.
And the stress of there might be a famine, so we need to calm the stress.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Get yourself in a tizzy. Like, I got to control that. So, you know, don't spread yourself too thin. Really find a major point of focus. That's the goal, is to go, okay, I really want to put my eggs in this basket for right now and work on that. And then when you feel confident that that was good, and you're like, okay, I got what I needed, then you move on to the next thing.
Yes. Be kind to yourself. Meet yourself where you're at, and add healthy habits in small doses.
But basically just be kind to yourself. Don't kick yourself in the teeth because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Always be nice to yourself. It's so hard, but always be nice to yourself.
Yeah. Think of any sport you've ever done, if you've done a sport, or anything you've ever tried learning for the first time. When you try doing stuff for the first time, you suck at it. You're not good at it. And if you are, I hate you, go away. But if you are naturally good at something, get out of here. But like most of the time we aren't good at stuff we first try. You try a sport, you're like, throw that ball, and you throw it and it goes way the other direction that you wanted to throw it. You're like, I don't even know how my arm went that way. That's called learning something new, and it takes time, it takes patience, and you fall down, you pick yourself back up, you try again. You don't sit there and go, oh, you can't throw a ball, you suck, you're terrible, because how are you going to pick yourself up from that?
Right, and how are you going to get better if you quit?
Yeah.
Just because you're not great at it the
Exactly.
first time.
If you're not great at it, you're like, oh, well, I guess I can't do that. That's what we do with healthy eating and exercise, but we don't do it with stuff we really put our minds to. If you really want to accomplish something and you fail, you keep trying until you stop failing. Mm-hmm. Why can't we apply that same mindset to other behaviors in our life beyond learning a new activity or a new task or skill or what have you?
Yeah. Look at the healthy habits as attaining a new skill.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
I think that's a very fair way to look at it, to be completely honest with you. Like, it is a new skill in a sense because we aren't really raised in a very healthy country. So 70% of our country is overweight or obese. I can't say we're in the minority or the majority as far as health. I think we're a lot more of the minority as health. But, it's not a race. You don't need to get there tomorrow. You don't need to get there, immediately. It's just a matter of taking a step back, looking at the picture, go, okay, where do I need to focus? What am I telling myself? Am I mean to me? That's a good question to ask yourself. Are you mean to yourself? Some of us are.
Yes.
You don't want that. I don't want that.
Well, on that note, be nice to yourself, you guys. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year 2021. We made it. We are here.
This is the year you can focus on yourself. Make this about you. What skills do you want to learn? What habits do you want to build? Where do you want your focus to be this year that matters most to you? And also be kind to yourself, too.
Beautifully said.
But until next time, everybody.
Bye.